Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, DirecTV 348, Sling, Roku, and Apple TV.
Mary had a little man.
Turn up your mind.
How can we possibly have a fair trial? Chuck Schumer, Senator Schumer promised a fair and full trial. You can't when you know that the juror and the judge are biased going in.
Okay, so here's his logic. This is Donald Trump's defense attorney, the mob attorney, Mr. Schoen. His logic is that the president can attack the Senate and the House physically, get a mob to attack them, to run through their workplace, screaming, hang Mike Pence, where is she, where is she? I came to put a bullet in the brain of Nancy Pelosi, AOC, right, where is she, where is she? Because the proper venue in our Constitution for impeaching and trying a president is the United States Capitol. So all you have to do is make them the victim or the witness to the crime, and then you can't have a fair trial. So his logic is saying to a president, a future president, attack the Congress. Do your violence in the Senate. Do your violence in the House. Because they will then become the victims, the witnesses to the violence, and they can't have a fair trial. Do you see how ridiculous that is? Okay, and then the other argument he has is this thing that I would like to call the January exception, okay? This is what I've been telling you forever, okay? That the defense is saying that because the president is no longer the president because he lost, that anything he did between Election Day and his leaving in January, on January 20th, anything that he does in there is okay. Because by the time it goes to trial, he's not there anymore. And so there's an exception. And I said to you, this makes no sense that once he left office, you couldn't put him on trial for what he did in office. Our Constitution doesn't say that what you did in office can be forgiven or looked the other way or not tried if you do it in January. Because by the time it gets written up and by the time it gets voted on, you'll be out. And so therefore you have this January exception, right? Where you could do anything. In fact, you could attack the House and the Senate, which is the greatest place to attack, because then they will be the victims and the witnesses, and they can't be unbiased anymore. And do it in January, because once you leave, you don't have to be accountable for anything you did while you were president. So again, you're telling future presidents that the time to do violence or upend democracy or engage in a coup or an insurrection or violence against your fellow congressmen or your senators or anybody who's disloyal to you in your mind is January. Do it in January, and do it physically in the court, which is the Senate, because then you can't have a fair trial. Does that make sense to anybody? No, I don't even think it makes sense to him. I think he's just saying that because it's all he's got. Because he will not make the case that the election was stolen, which was Donald Trump's preference, as you know. And 5 lawyers, all 5 lawyers, quit over the weekend because they said they weren't risking their law license to present what they know to be false evidence, with what they know to be a lie. You know, that's why Rudy Giuliani didn't make the case in the court that the election was stolen. He said this is not a fraud case. Remember? The reason why that was important is because you can't lie to the court and keep your law license. Just can't do it. Can't do it. I can't have it, Sally. I can't do it. Not even for old time's sake? No, can't do it. Okay, so their argument now, one of the other arguments, for the first argument is if the president wants to upend democracy, should do it in January, because once he's gone, there's no remedy. There's no remedy. It's non-judiciable is what they're going to say. It's non-judiciable. It's a I can't even say it because it's bullcrap anyway. But that's what they're saying. So do your bad stuff last week's in January, and then do your bad stuff to the Congress and the Senate because they're going to be the court. And you can't have a fair trial if the court is full of witnesses, victims, and people that you did violence against. All right. Then we get to the free speech argument. Inciting a riot is not free speech. It is not protected free speech, number one. Number two, if the president is standing there, and he was, behind the presidential seal, people have a reasonable expectation, the reasonable man standard, to believe the president. And that's what the president did. He stood behind the presidential seal at the stupid rally and told them that they need to fight, or they're not going to have a government. They're not going to have a democracy. They're not going to have a country. That's not protected speech. That's incitement to riot. Telling them proactively, I'm going to be with you walking to the Capitol. It's not free speech. But that's another argument that they're going to make.
I'm going to say to you that besides the fact that this process is completely unconstitutional and that this is a very, very dangerous road to take with respect to the First Amendment, putting at risk any passionate political speaker, which is really against everything we believe in this country, foundation of the First Amendment. But I'm going to tell you, I think it's also the most ill-advised legislative action that I've seen in my lifetime. It is tearing the country apart at a time when we don't need anything like that. I think President Biden missed a great opportunity to be a statesman and to have demanded that this thing be called off, frankly. This is the political weaponization of the impeachment process. There was a rush to judgment. Listen, when President Trump became president, the day he was elected, there were calls for his impeachment already. This is the weapon they've tried to use against him. But now we know also that the agenda, Ms. Pelosi and others, is simply to bar President Trump from ever running for president again. And that's about as undemocratic as you can get. Can you imagine the slap in the face that is to the 75 million or more voters who voted for Donald Trump and other supporters, even people who didn't vote for him, support an open political process? Fair-minded people don't support using the impeachment process to then try to bar someone from running for office again. But you're right also, there are many constitutional arguments against this. We don't use our political preferences to tear down the Constitution.
Let us turn to the Constitution. 14th Amendment, Section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or executive or judicial officer to support the Constitution, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid and comfort to the enemies thereof. Don't come at me, mob lawyer, with constitutional arguments that don't hold water. Clearly, it's in the Constitution. Hey, everybody. This is a clip from the latest episode of The Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, DirecTV 348, Sling, Roku, and Apple TV.